Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. This is going to be part of the CSL playoff match between UCSD and UCI. Seeing a lot of lag here actually. Bottom left hand corner we have Cheese, who obviously enjoys cheesing. He's going to be yellow in the bottom left hand corner. Top left hand corner we have Fira, who's going to be playing for UCI. And this is going to be on Shades of Twilight, which you can visualize a lot like Byzantium, but instead of having the interior mineral only, the mineral only is actually exposed to the exterior, which doesn't make a lot of difference PvP, because most PvP ends off two-base play in general anyway. So, and I especially expect it to be a short game with Cheese, because again, he likes to cheese, he likes to play creatively. I remember him actually talking about a build he liked to do, which involved kind of posing as though you're going for 3-gate Dragoon, or you're going for basically some sort of 3-gate build, and you immediately switch to Dark Templar, which kind of throws your opponent off, and is very hard to defend against. And let's see if he decides to employ something exactly like that at this stage. This is actually a pretty big match, because this is really going to swing the momentum one direction or the other. Currently tied 1-1. Random Korean, I know, is in the fourth set, and immediately after this, basically it could go to an ace match either direction. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It looks like a probe is going to get the proper scouting direction for Cheese. Unfortunately, revealing this scout early, let's see if he can sneak it in without getting seen. It's going to be very difficult, obviously, with a pylon right there, but maybe he'll be able to see a probe out of the corner here. I don't think you're going to do that on a normal scouting pattern there, but that should be an indication to Fire that he's at close positions most likely, and he should send the scout. I take that back. It's a 4-player map, so who knows what I'm saying right here. It's one of those things where I've been casting all day and my brain's going a little bit fuzzy. I'm like, this isn't a 3-player map, it's a 4-player map, so he could go top right, he could go bottom left. See what direction he goes. Both players opening up with 1 gate rather than doing anything too crazy right off the bat, and it looks like he is going to head to that top right location first. That's what I get for, I got a decent amount of sleep last night, but that's what I get for casting for, what is it, I think I've been casting for 4 hours now. Did some League of Legends casting before this, it's not recorded. Quick gas, so it looks like we are going to see some tech on both ends, rather than kind of the economic play after that. We'll have to see where they go from there. I don't think it's as necessary. I think you can still play a little bit of Zealot on this map, just because the inverted ramp, where you just basically you don't know how many units are kind of up there as a result, and you can be a little bit more successful, but we'll see what they decide to do immediately after this. Looks like they're going to play it pretty standard at this stage. I'm still waiting for Cheese to kind of reveal what he's going to do, and unfortunately for Fire, he's going to have a lot of time to do it, and he might even have that first Dragoon out, depending on when he puts down their robotics facility, and whether he puts down an additional robotics facility before Pylon tries to rush a Dragoon out really quickly for anything else, and both these guys having to deal with a lot of lag in the meantime, which I think is mostly my fault from the stream, and that might be critically. Fira has these 2 probes that are not mining gas. He's only got a single probe on gas, which could be the difference in this match. Looks like they're finally being put back in, but that's still little margins like that can be all the difference. And there's a pylon instead of the cybernetics core there, and it looks like we are going to see an additional pylon rather than cybernetics core on the opposite end here from Cheese, but he still has this first zealot coming out. Let's see if he can get position, or if he's just going to move with the... No, he is going to get position on that lower ramp. Might be able to box out that probe, and as a result deny a little bit of scouting there, which is really going to pay off for him. Loses his probe, the opposite end, so a little bit of a loss right there, but it looks like he is able in position to just keep that probe back and make sure it doesn't press forward, and let's see if the Zealot decides to get aggressive after that. But still, I think critically, not having that gas, even for those couple of seconds, can be a huge difference in the match. It looks like Fire was planning on a little bit more of an economic game, though, because he did, again, go for second pylon before that cybernetics core. Now we're seeing that cybernetics core along with a second gateway right off the bat. That probe's still trying to test the front door, not getting it, and just trying to explore the exterior to see if you can see anything on the corners. Not going to be able to get much else out of it now that Zealot actually blocking the ramp on the other side, and I'm kind of wondering how this lag is actually affecting both of these guys in their play. It can be very difficult, specifically for Cheese, if he decides to go for a little bit more of a creative build. You just need to execute off of it. You need some micro to do it off of, so it could be a little bit more difficult in that regard. And it looks like he's actually able to slip through with that probe. That Zealot getting a little bit of a quick hit, missed it, didn't think he was going to be able to get through, but able to push its way through, and now seeing everything he wanted to, specifically running in, seeing the cybernetics core, seeing the additional pylon rather than any sort of tech past that. And additionally, seeing that there's no zealots or anything else that's been produced, so he doesn't have to worry. Also getting a pretty good look at the drone saturation. So has a pretty good view of what's going on. It looks like he's got that, he does not have a second gateway yet. Looks like he's going to go for some range instead, and now putting down his second gateway, but that's going to put him in a pretty decent defensive economic position. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a ramp near that natural secondary to really control to try to defend it, so if Cheese does decide to go for a few more Dragoons and press forward, especially after that second gateway's been out for a little bit longer, it's going to be very difficult for Fira to try to defend this natural expansion, because you can see it's pretty wide open. You've got that ramp there, but really just kind of careening up the forward position. You really don't have height to really defend with, so if you end up with a unit disadvantage, you can't really work it to your advantage in that regard. Needs to be careful in that regard as well. We see the robotics facility being placed. This stage, I'm just kind of like saying stuff because I'm not quite sure what to say in this match, to be completely honest. I'm like, okay, they're both building up stuff, waiting for some cheese from Cheese, and Cheese instead going for robotics facility, so going 2-gate Reaver instead of expansion. 2 gates to the northern corner, and expect to see with that additional pylon 2-gate into expansion to the north. So really what it's going to come down to is Reaver harass versus some Dragoon defense. First Dragoon Zealot up on that front door playing a little bit of a defense position, and really I think it's going to be pylon coverage past that, making sure actually there's kind of a pylon to the south here and a pylon to the north there to try to see when that Reaver comes out, kind of keep an eye on its movements here and maybe detract a little bit of that focus fire, make sure that Cheese kind of has to forcibly go from there. It's conceivable that Cheese will also go Observatory first, but that's one of those builds that I like least in PvP, is going 2-gate into Observatory, because yes, you're very safe, but I don't feel like it gives you an advantage like any direction in any of your builds. I mean, yes, you're stopping Cheese that's coming against you, but and you'll be victorious in that regard, but I think for against any sort of standard player, Cheese versus Cheese can be pretty entertaining, and then otherwise, yeah, it's not giving you any sort of advantage. You're behind on your expansion, you're behind on your tech, things like that. Anyway, looks like that natural expansion is being taken just now from Fira. He's got the looks like 4 Dragoons, a lower reinforcement point, as well as a couple Zelts to work with it. But critically on the opposite end, I'm not seeing either robotics facility or the observatory. Now there's the observatory from Cheese, so it looks like Cheese just going to play it safe. Let's see if he follows this observatory and this first observer up with a Reaver instead and try to get a little bit of scouting up front. But again, this is one of those scenarios that's going to put Fira pretty far ahead. He's going to have that natural expansion way before he can catch up on tech, and he's going to be a little bit behind on units, but with that close reinforcement point, he should be able to catch up at this stage without too much trouble and have that pretty well secured. So he's going to take at least the initial advantage, and now he's placing down that third and probably a fourth gateway to try to produce a little bit of additional defense. Seeing those 4 Dragoons to the front door, he first of all, he knows essentially that he's probably going up against a fast expansion at this stage. He's going to know for sure in just a moment with that with that observatory. There's a robotics facility to follow, but really it's still going to be a little bit late, and there's going to be a lot of Dragoons to defend against it. And really what he's going to need to do is kind of spread out and force those combination attacks, which actually can be very successful in Shades of Twilight just because of the architecture, because you can see these Dragoons have a long way to go to try to make it back in a position where they can cut that Reaver off. And if you bring your units up as well, which it looks like there's a decent amount of Dragoons in the front door, basically you're kind of splitting those forces, making it so they have to dedicate one direction to the other, and it makes it very difficult for basically a player to contend with. All he can really do is pull those probes off the line and try to keep pulling them off in a position where you basically try to stay one step ahead of that Reaver at the position it's going at. And it looks like that first shuttle has been produced, the observer already moving across the field. We should see that Reaver shortly after, and we've already got one Zealot. I'm waiting for that second Zealot to be dropped in to provide a little bit of harassment. We'll see if he decides to fill it up with a Dragoon instead, and going for a third gateway, so it's going to be pretty much an all-in attack after this from Cheese. Cheese is going to try to end the match here with a 3-gate plus Reaver supported thing, and I actually like that decision. He knows he's going to be pretty heavily dedicated into this anyway, so you might as well get that third gate to try to just outproduce otherwise. Keep in mind this third gateway's been down for quite a while on that opposite end for Fira, and that robotics facility actually coming out quite a bit late. I actually expected when he didn't put down that fourth gateway off this natural expansion that he put down that robotics facility immediately, but instead it looked like, I'm not sure if he got not supply capped, if he just decided he wanted some more Dragoons out in the field just in case he was going up against something from there, but decided to wait on that robotics facility instead. And as a result, that actually might be one of those situations where it can cost him the game, where he's not going to have the mobility or the Reaver to try to counter this. He's going to have a couple more Dragoons, but again, with that Reaver behind behind, I'm not sure it's going to make all that much of a difference. So there we see it looks like 3 gateways to produce. Doesn't look like any additional gateways being planted. So we're going to see more Dragoon heavy rather than Zealot heavy to try to press up against this. And there's only a single Zealot, that Reaver in the shuttle. And just to get a count, it looks like it's even Dragoons, but you've got that Reaver in the shuttle, and they're kind of coming from an awkward angle otherwise. So she's going to have to rely a bit on Reaver Micro. And a pretty good hit. What he also needs to focus on is the clump rather than just the Seagull hits off these Dragoons. He needs to kind of hit where it's going to do the most damage here. And it looks like he's, again, just focus firing on the Dragoons that are going to dying. So that it doesn't look like this attack is paying off for him. And again, it looks like there he got a little bit of hit on 2 Dragoons, but the reinforcement point, as you can see between this, he's just not hitting enough spread. And it looks like he did do some damage right there. And there's a good clump, getting some good hits right there, but needs to protect that Reaver. It looks like he already lost that shuttle. Trying to back off is going to end up... Oh, does manage to keep it alive, just barely. That one Dragoon not able to... There, finally focus fires, takes it out. And with that hit, actually, I think that might be it, actually, because now it's going to be even Dragoons versus even Dragoons, and plus a distance reinforcement point. As long as Fira brings his probes off the line, that attack is basically going to fail, because you've got that one Dragoon actually being pretty well microed off there. And even this one probe driving that attack force back, that should be it. And she's essentially going to end up losing this match. She's going to fall economically behind. Looks like the Dragoon's getting taken out.